Big, exciting, great news tonight as we start evening's LALATE as a big twist is unfolding. Something that I'd never seen. I was just like, what? I mean, they weren't even talking about this at the casino. What are you talking about? A new twist that suggests your entire path for second stimulus could be defined and debated and determined by one state and one city in one county. Oh my goodness. What? Excuse me. Well, if you've not been watching Real Housewives of Atlanta, maybe you should, because a new report today says that the entire makeup of the Senate, the ability to get your second stimulus and how much stimulus could be coming to you, might be determined by a Senate race in Georgia. And if the Senate race goes Republican, you will be back with Mitch. But if it goes Democratic, it's time for big stimulus. Boy, this is great news, but also confusing news in a day in which the stock market rebounded nearly 900 points and ended up positive. A great day is starting, and it's just finishing. And here we go on Evenings LALATE. Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm here, you're here, and the court is not. That's on Early Mornings LALATE. But I really appreciate you for tuning in on a day in which everything is changing. I'm indoors on the Early Mornings LALATE set because of very bad weather conditions here in Southern California, but I'm sort of liking it here, so maybe I'll stay. If you've not already, please go to the Frontage channel, subscribe, because this is the best darn community there is out there. Go for the Frontage channel, subscribe, so you get a video alert when a new video goes live, and there's a couple videos per day on this channel, just a few, you say, and there's a lot of twists and turns. I mean, we started the morning with predictions of the market going down 100 points, then it opened, it was down 400, and then the next time I recorded, it was down 900. Well, tonight I'm recording, and it's actually ending up higher. This is all important for your stimulus checks, of course. Also, like this video. In this video, I will be going over why suddenly Georgia, of all places, could determine the entire future of your stimulus checks. Okay, yeah, tardy for the party. Pull out some auto tune because you're gonna have to sing to this song, to this recording tonight. Boy, I mean, Georgia apparently could determine the entire fate of the entire country for their stimulus checks. People get it right. Choose between Nini or candy and choose correctly. Next, I'll be going over why the stock market rebounded. What is the stock market looking at? What's going forward? And will the stock market be the rude awakening to get this president to send out stimulus checks by executive order? Third, and this is really the incredible great news as we start the evening, is that the Purple Power Caucus is absolutely doing an incredible job. You're doing an incredible job. You're absolutely standing up and understanding that despite what happens on election night, which we may not know the results for weeks or months, well, at least weeks maybe, we may not know the election results for weeks. We're going to be pushing for your stimulus relief now in the amounts that you need now and the amounts you're deserved now. And in this recording, I'm going to go over those amounts for you. Finally, I'll be going over with you why it's important to sort of brush away fake narratives, because you're going to hear a lot of fake narratives with only 8 days away to the election night. All right, let's get to the breaking news. The breaking news as we start here this evening is that Wall Street is the indicator for this president for determining the economy, and ultimately is the indicator for him to send out stimulus checks by executive orders. He has had the opportunity to send out executive orders, and he has not done it. Currently, we're continuing to push Purple Power to push. What is Purple Power? Purple Power is a name that I gave to the followers of this channel after a few people calling me Mr. Purple because you would wear a purple shirt. And slowly after time, I realized that Purple Power is much what this channel has always been from day one. Encouragement, motivation, education, and pushing to get what's owed to you. I just never had a name for it. And on Friday, I announced the Purple Power Caucus, which is basically going on social media and pushing for what is owed for you in 3 divisions. Check. FPUC, and hazard pay. What is no different is that we had been doing this for several weeks. We just didn't have a name for it. What's important to understand tonight is that the push for executive order from this president is still underway. He has 8 days left, and whether he'll understand it or not is really not clear. We perhaps may have thought that he may not do executive orders after a peculiar series of statements by him overnight about COVID-19. He said it's a media farce created by the liberal media, that you'll never hear about COVID after the election. And this is amid 83,000 COVID cases announced on Friday and Saturday by Johns Hopkins University, which is not a media organization. The worst daily reported number of COVID-19 cases since the pandemic started, breaking the prior record of 77,000 per day. The 6-day average is now also a record. And there's a big concern that there will be lockdowns across the country. Now, I'm not here to report on health news. I'm here to report on stimulus news. And ultimately, what's important to understand is that you're owed stimulus for the last lockdown. You still haven't paid that. And you're going to be owed stimulus for the lockdown coming up. And you got to get paid that as well. And what I don't want to happen is I don't want you to wait and get that stimulus payment for the second lockdown, 10 months later, like we're dealing with the second lockdown. We're sitting here 6 months after the first lockdown, and you have not gotten paid by these people. Those people are members of Congress. When the first lockdown came, we knew how many months of lockdown it was going to be. It was going to be March, April, May, and you got one check. I mean, really, folks? One check. They were supposed to give you 3 checks. The original bill had 3 checks in it. They took the other 2 checks out. As you sit here today, unfortunately, Nancy Pelosi is doing a 1-check deal to cover you for the last 6 months, but not giving you any checks for the pandemic hitting. She's in one breath talking about crushing the virus and dealing with the virus and addressing the virus coming on, but she's not compensating you for dealing with the virus because as a lockdown ensues, or the pandemic roars on, or costs of living increases, which is a big topic of discussion on this channel. It's starting to be like the new big topic on this channel. Milk and eggs and basic groceries going up double and triple, just insane prices. Suddenly you have to start getting checks for this, or you're not going to be able to pay rent or utilities, or you have already not been paid, and you're owed those multiple stimulus checks. What's important to understand tonight is that that does not change based upon the events of election night. But then there's this. Boy, I thought I've heard it all until I heard this one. A new report tonight says that the race for the Senate to control the Senate, either Republican or Democratic, is so up in the air. It is too close to call that there is now a major series of reports, especially out of the Atlanta Constitutional Journal, the AJC, that says we think that the race for the Senate out of Georgia is a dead race, and that the race for the presidency is a dead heat. Georgia has not gone Democratic for president since 1992. And now the race for the presidency between Biden and Trump is a dead race, dead heat. And the battle for the Senate is a dead heat as well. This is causing jitters across the board because ultimately, if there's a runoff, we may not know for weeks after election night if the Senate's controlled by the Republicans or Democrats. Let me explain to you why this is Nancy Pelosi's worst nightmare, and ironically might be your sadistic enjoyment of the weekend. Nancy Pelosi thought this was her plan. She planned that you would not get the stimulus unless it was her stimulus, because ultimately Biden would win on election night. What she didn't bet on is that Mitch McConnell and the GOP hold on to the Senate. And if that happens, everything she's been doing goes backwards. Every offer she has gotten from Steve Mnuchin, from 1-1 to 1-3 to 1-6 to 1-8 to 1-8-5 to 1-8-9, guess what? It goes the other way. It goes the other way because suddenly Steve Mnuchin's gone. Steve Mnuchin is Treasury Secretary to Donald Trump. And if Trump is not reelected, he's gone. Steve Mnuchin was not going to work for the Biden administration. Biden comes in, and guess what? Nancy has to negotiate with someone other than Steve Mnuchin. Who's she going to negotiate with? Garfield the cat? No. The ice cream salesman? No. The postman? No. Who's she going to negotiate with? She has to negotiate with someone. And guess who it likely would be? Mitch McConnell. Even if she's not going to negotiate with Mitch, now Mitch absolutely is holding the cards. Because all that stimulus that she wanted to give, $300 billion, no, excuse me, $400 billion for state and local, Mitch is going to absolutely torpedo that. $900 billion for state and local, torpedo that. How about Biden's $7 trillion bill to fix potholes? Torpedo that. None of this will happen. This is absolutely categorically Nancy Pelosi's worst nightmare. And that's why, if you watch the earlier McConnell versus Trump report, I talked about how the Democrats are trying to get Bloomberg to give fortunes. Yes, that Bloomberg, because they're fearful that they're not going to take the Senate. If they don't take the Senate, what does this mean for your stimulus checks? And how much stimulus checks could you be owed? And what's going to happen? What's important to understand as we sit here today is that you have to deal things with on the come. You have to deal with the situation now, not do what Nancy Pelosi is doing. Nancy Pelosi's idea is to wait for something and hope that it happens. Life's not very like that. You got to take things on the come in life. And that's why the Purple Power is taking things on the come. How much you owe for stimulus checks? And now at the 11-minute mark of this video, stay with me, because I got big stuff coming up. How much do you owe for stimulus checks? You're owed a stimulus check for the month of April and May and June and July and August and September and October. Okay, that's just the second stimulus check. Then the pandemic's coming, and the pandemic's coming around the corner. And while you may not live in Florida, but states are going to put you back on lockdown. So how much stimulus checks do you owe for then? Well, you got to be paid a stimulus check if you're on lockdown. Hello, we ain't doing this again, folks. You want to put us on lockdown, you give us a stimulus check. You ain't never going to see how loud the Purple Power is going to be when there's lockdowns announced and these people aren't giving you stimulus checks. It's like, honey, no. We weren't organized. This channel didn't exist then. This channel was, birthed in April 25th. So, we're just sort of in the end of the lockdown. You do another lockdown, you pay for your damn lockdown, honey. That's how we're going to do it here. And so if we're in November with a lockdown, stimulus check. December a lockdown, stimulus check. January lockdown, stimulus check. We need stimulus checks for lockdowns, and that's the third stimulus package. So what's important to understand is that we're dealing with a second stimulus package for everything that's back owed. You owe us bills. Let me send you an invoice for our stimulus checks. Here's the invoice. Before we get to the event that's coming up, and sure as hell, Nancy Pelosi is going to try to say that, you got that second stimulus check to pay you for the thing that's coming up in the future. Oh, no, honey. No, that's not how it works. You're paying us for the stimulus checks from before. You are not paying us for the stimulus checks going forward. That's a whole other bill. Then FPUC. FPUC is a big-ass problem, folks. Come on here. FPUC, $600 a week, $400 a week, and the weeks end in middle January? No. If you have a lockdown in December or November, guess what? You'll probably have a lockdown in January. And you'll be unemployed. And you'll need that FPUC. And you'll need it retroactive. Already, Nancy Pelosi's trying to cut you out of a month of FPUC. She's trying to only bring it back to September 5th. But imagine if Mitch is the one she's negotiating with. Lord, Mitch wants to offer you $300 a week FPUC, and Nancy wouldn't take, $200 a week at some points. And Nancy didn't want to take Steve Mnuchin's $400 a week. She didn't want to take the Problem Solver's $450 or $600 a week. She wants to hold out for $600 a week, presuming she's going to take the Senate. Yeah, and if she doesn't take the Senate, she is absolutely going to shoot herself in the foot, because basically she held on for $600 a week from July all the way up to the present on the hope that she takes the Senate. And she doesn't take the Senate, she's not getting $400 a week. She's lucky if whoever if the president wins re-election, then we're back at $400 a week. But if the president does not win re-election, you're lucky if you're going to see $300 a week offered to her from the Republicans. Then there's Wall Street. What is Wall Street looking at? New reports out today says that this day is not going to be unusual. You're going to see this over the next couple days, and this ultimately hurts the president for re-election, and ultimately ultimately helps your stimulus. Wall Street is expected to go up and down, very volatile over the next few days, all the way until the election is determined. Why? It's a bit of a double whammy. COVID definitely is not going in the right direction in the US right now. And then there's some diminishing optimism because stimulus just hasn't come together and the election is just around the corner, says Tom Lee, head of research at Fundraiser Global Advisors. I think the polling is kind of solidified. It looks like a Biden White House, and then for policy, it's a Biden win. There's a chance that the incumbent administration just dawdles on stimulus. That would dampen the markets for the new year. Lee adds, we have a lot of things to be anxious about in the next couple of weeks. That's why there's pre-election market. But post-election, I think there's a lot of things that make people nervous about. Post-election is a when and not an if. It's if there is a mixed Congress. It's if there is some common ground. It's a scope that's different. It would be a smaller package. What he's talking about is what I'm talking about. Wall Street's concerned that the Senate does not go Democrat, that it goes Republican, stays Republican. And they're concerned that they don't know the certainty of what that means for stimulus. We don't know it either. And ultimately, a lot of people have been focused on the presidency, but how does it focus on the stimulus? It's as important as the Fed right now. COVID is suppressing the economy and it's essentially offsetting that easy money. If we didn't have COVID, people would be going out and spending money. It's like acting like a huge headwind. I think it's unlikely to be a major sell-off, says another analyst. I still think that the underlying fundamentals are good. I think it's a gut check around. For me, the most important outcome of the election is, does the corporate tax path cuts play off? What's important to understand is that when we look at the elections, and you look at Wall Street, they're looking at different things in the election than you are. You're looking for your stimulus check. You're looking at whether Mitch and his GOP leaders are back. They're looking at whether there's going to be corporate tax cuts revoked by Biden, whether there's going to be regulation of industries by Biden, and that they say that causes decreased employment, decreased earnings, and decreased profitability, which means ultimately less money for you as well. They're focused on that, where we're focused on how do we get our stimulus from point A to point B. But, as I've told you for days since last Friday, we're not going to focus on ultimately what happens on election night because we just don't know. There's too many things to guess. We don't know who's going to win the presidency. We don't know who's going to contest the election results from the presidency. We don't know how long that contested election could go. Would it go days, weeks, months to the Supreme Court with the new Judge Barrett confirmed to the Supreme Court tonight? We just don't know that. And Wall Street does not like a contested election. They don't like uncertainty. And a bad Wall Street is a bad economy as well. Next, we don't know what's happening in the Senate. We simply just don't know. The only thing we do know is that Nancy will be back. Boy, let me answer some of incredible comments and questions from last night, and stay with me for Purple Power coming up after this because I have a lot of details on that. Sydney Murphy, it's really bad how things have gotten in this country. Michelle Freed, people should forward their bills to Nancy. Sarah, why do people think they don't want the president there? They're not experts. You are the president. Take charge and do it. Do it. I love that. Lashai Cahoon, I need Pelosi's address. Ellen Grossman, executive orders, Mr. President, now before the kids get starving. Patricia Simpson, as much as I don't want the stock market to crash, it's a wake-up call for the president to do executive order. Let it be done. This is interesting. This is a comment from 21 hours ago on a Sunday afternoon when I said that the Dow futures said that the market would open down 200 points. Of course, we went down 900 and closed a flat, which is great. It rebounded the 900 points by the end of the day. Kelly Lux, Lord Meadows, take a seat. Amanda, hello, everyone. I just want to say my dad lived through the Great Depression, and rest his soul, he always told me it was going to happen again. Only this time, it's going to be worse because no one knows how to live like that anymore. I pray to God it doesn't get worse. Bonnie Ivan, I'm saying more prayers for everyone. Angela, stay safe, everyone. Wayne, I just don't understand why the president doesn't want to do anything. Margie, executive orders, Mr. Trump. Carla, praying for America. Hudson, okay, Trump, do executive orders. Demetria, L8, I heard the feds already signed on emergency stimulus. Is that true? It's untrue. Israela, there was more to Mark's statement. You did not include it. There was a lot more to Mark's Meadows statement, but ultimately, it's the COVID numbers which are no good, and that ultimately, there's no way to bounce around them. If you have questions in today's video, which I'm sure you do, drop in the comments below. I thank you for joining me in a day in which there's a lot of twists and turns, and I got to tell you, it's going to be an unpredictable next 8 days. So if anyone next to you or in the comment below you or above you or at the market or in the supermarket says, I can tell you exactly what's going to happen. I can tell you exactly what's going to happen. Sorry, you just can't call it. It's uncallable at the moment. So go to the front of the channel, subscribe. Subscribe because we're getting through this together. And as the Purple Power Caucus, we're going to push for stimulus checks that we're owed, for FPUC we're owed, and for hazard pay we're going to owe. More about that next video. Also like this video. Coming up is, of course, Purple Power. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay about life.